Mirna in the hot seat. Mirna Sabbagh, welcome to the show. You made your name from basically being a dietitian, a food therapist, a lactation consultant.
It was my passion. It's all I wanted. I wanted to help moms. Only 20% of women around the globe are able to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months.
You got into it from lived experience. You were struggling to breastfeed yourself.
How much money is spent on how to make a food addictive?
When we would hear of divorce, we're like, oh, this is haram.
Yeah.
People looking at you saying, oh, she's remarried. Oh.
What do you think is going to marry you? It's like, you are divorced, you have
damaged.
a child.
You're damaged goods.
And no matter how many people tell you that we have our rights in the region, we have no rights.
How much pressure do you now have to make this marriage work?
I have my values and I have what I expect out of a marriage. And if I don't have that...
It takes a strong character to say that. Today's guest is Mirna Sabbagh. Mirna made her name as a dietitian, a lactation consultant, and feeding therapist. Over the last few years, Mirna, just like so many of us, has looked to redefine herself into a new purpose and direction, shedding her previous life and doing things that bring her joy and fulfillment. Now, many of us, including myself, can relate. Today, as an entrepreneur, she's creating products that help others beyond just food, and as a woman, has remarried as part of that next chapter in her life. Her message to women is really clear. It is never too late to go for the life you really want, to challenge yourself, and to reimagine the person you can be. Today's episode is all about life insights.
Mirna Sabbagh is a former dietitian turned purpose-driven entrepreneur and mother of 2, soon 3, empowering women to reinvent themselves, build meaningful brands, and find joy through growth, resilience, and real-life balance.
How are we feeling Monday morning?
I mean, good. I was just telling you I love Mondays. I like it. I'm ready.
You're one of the only people I know in the world who likes Mondays.
I didn't used to like Mondays. I worked in banking a long time ago, and
Okay.
I hated Mondays.
Okay.
I remember I used to get the Sunday blues, and it was strong.
We all got those, didn't
But
we?
nowadays, Sundays, I like rest, and I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready for my Monday.
And are you a morning person as well?
I am a morning person, but
Okay.
I don't usually chat in the morning.
Okay.
I just start work.
This is going to go well.
I don't know. I mean, I begged my husband to wake up early with me and have coffee for so long. And then he
Beautiful.
started to wake up early.
Okay.
And he's like, you are not a friendly person in the morning.
Ouch. So what kind of person are you in the morning?
So I'm just working. Usually I'm just on. I finish a lot of the things that I need to do. So this is a rare thing that
Well,
we're doing here
I'm very
today.
grateful. But look, you've got great energy in the morning.
Oh,
so
thank you.
whatever your husband's saying on camera and off camera, you got the energy, man. You got the energy.
I'm gonna let him know.
Usually we kick off with the mug, but I've noticed you've got a Luca's Inside Track mug as well as 2 smaller ones. So what's happening here? What's the story?
So you told me to bring my favorite mug, and then I realized I don't have a favorite mug. In fact,
okay.
I don't even have mugs. I have tea.
Beautiful.
Teacups at home. And I used to drink coffee in a mug before I switched to Turkish coffee. Like 12 years ago when I had my son, he had such bad dairy allergy, so I couldn't have milk or anything dairy.
Yeah.
Switched to Turkish coffee and I fell in love.
Okay.
And it just became my routine since then.
So before that, you weren't drinking that much Turkish coffee?
I wasn't drinking at all. I hated it.
Really?
But
Okay.
now I love it. And I think it's such a nice, tradition.
So you got 2 of them there?
I got 2 of them, one for you, one for Resha.
That's very kind of
I
you.
know.
That's
I
very
thought
kind.
maybe if you decide to drink Turkish coffee, it could be a thing for you.
Now, Mirna, aka Charlotte, did you buy these?
I swear to God.
Were these in your home
Those
yesterday?
were in my home 100%.
And they have been used beforehand.
Those have been used beforehand.
I've had some guests who try and be clever. They buy something, pretend it's theirs.
So let me tell you, when you told me to bring a mug, I'm like, you know what? I don't have a favorite mug. What is he going to say about me? Should I buy a mug?
You did
And I'm
great.
like, you know what? I'm just going to bring him Turkish coffee.
You know what? It's a nice segue because you mentioned the whole lack of milk thing for your son. Kareem is 12 years old,
Yes,
right?
he had a dairy allergy.
And look, that was your former life, right? I mean, that was your... See the segue I did there?
Yeah,
You
I
see
like it.
It's good, huh?
You're good.
Come on,
You're better than I thought.
Yeah. So you made your name from basically being a dietitian, a food therapist, a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
But when we spoke, you kind of said to me, look, Luca, that was kind of the old Mirna. So before we talk about the new Mirna, What was the old Mirna like, and why did you do what you did in that perspective? Which then decided you to say, you know what, I want to actually start changing my life.
So when I had Kareem, I had my second degree, which was nutrition. And I wasn't working for 2 years. I actually couldn't get my license in the UAE. And here I saw everyone I graduated with open clinics and succeed and do so well. And I'm just a stay-at-home mom.
That pissed you off, didn't it?
It pissed me off.
Yeah, you can say it.
And it worried everybody around me. Like the conversations my mom had with me, she's like, Mirna, work, do something. Like she was really worried. My sister was really worried. My dad was really worried. Everyone thought I just completely lost my identity.
Yeah.
But in fact, I actually couldn't get a license in the UAE. I had to do a training back in Lebanon for 6 months.
Okay.
One, I had a toddler at home. So I was like, you know what, it's fine. I became a lactation consultant then because of the struggles that I had with Kareem and breastfeeding, because it was really, really hard. And then my sister encouraged me. She's like, just start a blog. And at the time, there wasn't Instagram. There was blogs. So I started a blog. I just started to write my experience, things that I learned. And it picked up. People started to really like share them and like them. And that became my life. So I worked in a pediatric clinic at the time when Kareem was 2, got my license, worked in a pediatric clinic. It was my passion. It's all I wanted. I wanted to help moms overcome their breastfeeding journeys, their nutrition issues. I landed right there, and it was such a good ride. I enjoyed it so much, the clinical part. And then also the online started to pick up. And when COVID hit, Luca, I had been recently divorced. Clinics closed, and I'm a freelancer. Right? So financially, it's very difficult for me. I don't have a steady income. What am I going to do when I'm sitting at home? I'm like, you know what? Why don't I turn what I learned into online courses that people can buy from all over the world? And to do that, I started to focus on content, and it just flew. And it was amazing. And it just also became my life. I became just a content creator in the nutrition and lactation field. I loved it so much. It was such a great challenge. It gave me so much purpose. I met so many people. I still meet so many people who stop me. They're like, I took this course, la la. But I feel like it's something I completed. You know,
Tick the box.
I ticked, and I'm happy. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. So you mentioned about you got into it from lived experience. You were struggling to breastfeed yourself.
Yes.
How many women have that? I mean, in terms of a challenge, because we take it for kind of granted, don't we?
In reality, we're all supposed to breastfeed, you know, for 6 months or longer for optimal health for moms and kids. But only 20% of women around the globe,
Is that it?
Yeah, are able to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months because it's notoriously hard. The medical system does not really support it. Doctors don't even take lactation courses. I don't know if you know that.
No.
You have a baby, you're in pain, you have no idea what you're doing, and everyone around you is like,
here, take this.
Yeah,
Figure
everyone's
it out.
around is like, oh, he's crying. Only breastfeeding moms know that even if the boy or baby is chunky and they're crying, they are full. You know, it's not that they need to eat more. So there's a lot of doubt. You don't have enough milk. The pain is not
You're
normal.
taking me back. Look,
I
my
know.
youngest is 2, right?
Yeah.
So I can still remember it like it was yesterday. And my eldest is 4, right?
Yeah.
So those days of, you know, Rash had to go through quite a lot. And it was really difficult the first time, when Matthew was first born, trying to latch, trying to be able, like, they were like, oh, just do this. And oh yeah, that's super. It's not easy. It's really difficult. I saw the anxiety in her face as a mom not being able to feed the kids. It's a real issue.
It's a real issue, and there's grief with it. By the way, a lot of women grieve
and guilt. I'm guessing.
And guilt, 100%. A lot of women grieve and have guilt about not breastfeeding. That's not the camp that I come from. If you want to breastfeed, I am here to support you. And if you cannot breastfeed, totally respect the choice. Like even with Chloe, because she was my second child, I was like, I can't do this full time the way I did it with Kareem. Right now, I have another son. He's in school. I've got things to do. I've got activities to go to.
Yeah.
Also, I have a career and I have a job. Yeah. So it's not for everybody if you don't have the full support, and no one has really the full support.
You need a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication. I remember also the sound of the pump. My goodness.
Yeah.
Mirna, 2 a.m. I couldn't. I told Rasha I just can't. I can't sleep. I have to get out. And I felt really, really guilty about that. But it's tough. If you're not breastfeeding, you're pumping.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not pumping, you're breastfeeding.
I know.
It's just around the clock.
It's around the clock. Like, how many people can completely free up themselves? Like, think about all these working women.
You can't.
They cannot. They cannot.
They have to give up so much. Now, look, I'm segueing you now because you are pregnant.
Yeah.
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 You are pregnant.
I am pregnant.
Yeah,
Baby number 3.
You sounded surprised. I am, yeah. I thought I'd announce that first of all on Luca's Inside Track. When are you due?
July, end of July.
Fantastic. Hopefully you can have a very, very healthy pregnancy. It's all going to go well. Are you planning on breastfeeding?
I am planning on breastfeeding.
Yeah.
For me, breastfeeding is, I've learned to overcome the challenges. It's not going to be the way it was the first time around.
Yeah.
There's a joy to it, by the way, that a lot of women don't know. There's a joy to it after you pass the hardships, after the 2 months.
Yes.
It actually becomes really easy. It becomes really quick. It becomes really efficient. Like, I go to the mall, I don't need to carry formula and I don't know what. I just carry a cover and a diaper and that's it. But that's my experience, you know. And,
have you seen the men when they have those like fake boobs and they put milk in them so they can feel like they start?
Have you tried that?
I haven't.
Okay.
But I did see on Amazon. What are your thoughts on, because men can get a little bit left out. It's weird, I know, but it's like...
Do you think they're doing it for to get the experience? Or do you think they're
probably
doing
for Instagram? But a man does feel a little bit powerless, to be fair. But I used to remember when I used to give the bottle to my kids, I felt really good. Like feeding your kids is like, there's something really therapeutic about it.
There is, and they're quiet. That's why. You know, you're just holding them, they're quiet.
Yeah,
they're
good luck with the little one coming.
Thank you.
It's a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
It's a girl. Do you have a name picked out?
We're thinking of Jasmine.
Great name.
Jasmine or Sophia.
Great name.
That's where we're at right now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Aladdin style. Every time I hear Jasmine, I always think about Aladdin.
But it's a cute name.
It's a beautiful
name. But with Chloe, actually, when she was born, the day because I had agreed with the name with my husband, my son, and we all knew it was going to be Chloe. And then the day she was born, I'm like, I think she's a Sophia.
She looks like it, yeah.
I don't know, but my husband's like, no, khalas, she's a Chloe. But it was funny because with her name is Chloe, and you know, you come from a mixed background. And when we told our family her name is Chloe, some of them were like, Chloe? Chloe? And then someone would be like, it's not Chloe, it's Chloe and Chloe. And it was just such a mess. But right now, at least.
You should have seen with Oliver. They were like, Oliver? Sure, Oliver. I said, like, little Zaytoon. Ah, Olive, halas, got it. Before I go any further, I usually ask my guests for a safe word. If there's a question you don't want to answer, you are protected. So, Mirna, what is your safe word?
I don't have deep thoughts about it, and I didn't know what to choose. But when I came in and you were very attached to your cushion, I thought cushion.
Do you have one of those pregnancy cushions?
Not yet, but I'm gonna get.
Rashi used to have one of those like giant moon things for her back.
Admit you used it.
I didn't actually. No, I didn't. But I would see after she delivered, she still cuddled up to that cushion rather than me.
You know what issue I had with the cushion is every time, you know, because you turn around. Every time I turned around to the other side, my husband would take my cushion.
Bastard.
Be like, man.
Bastard. You said, yeah.
It's mine.
Slap him a goddamn. So cushion is your safe word.
Cushion's my safe word.
Noted.
Yeah.
So you decided to make the change, right? Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned COVID, you launched these online courses. And then you said, you know what, I've ticked that box and I want to do something different. And if you notice by our AI image, for those who are watching, we put on a bunch of your products that you've created, businesses that you've actually created that's designed to help other people beyond just food, beyond just nutrition and beyond lactation. So what are you doing, first of all? And second of all, what made you make the change?
What happened is when I did the nutrition courses, and alhamdulillah, they did really well. I started to feel like I can't do this anymore. I don't know if you get this feeling.
Yes,
I
had that feeling.
So I don't know if other people get this feeling of I just cannot, because I get this in my life. I feel like the door just shut. I started to feel like I can't make content anymore. People would call me in for interviews about nutrition. I would feel like I can't do this anymore. I feel like I delivered my message. And I did not want to go into trends to keep it relevant. Like core nutrition, everything that is there. And I just didn't want to continue to repeat myself. Like I felt like I needed a personal challenge. At the time, I thought to do a food brand. That was just the next logical
It's all within
step.
the space.
Exactly. Yeah. I tried to do a food brand, tried really hard, looked at manufacturers in the US, in the UAE, but for some reason, it just didn't work out. Like it just kept getting stopped at the end. In retrospect, now when I look back, I was like, I think it was a good thing because I did not want to be in food. I think I wanted really to just have an outlet, like a different outlet, something completely different from nutrition. So it started with Cocoa Wipes because when I had my daughter Chloe, she was born underweight. She was born 2.5 kilos. I was really worried about her. And I remember like postpartum, I had a C-section. And then postpartum, I remember my husband and my mom were changing her diaper. That was their duty. And I after I could actually get up and change a diaper, and I found out that she has this horrible diaper rash, like horrible. And I don't know, like it was like the silliest thing that made me completely break down. I was like, she's tiny, she's already she's already crying, she's colicky.
That mama bear kicked that gear. Your mama bear gene kicked in.
I was livid, you know? And then we did everything to try to get rid of the diaper rash. You know, we stopped using wet wipes. We were washing for her under the sink. You know, we were doing all of these things, but it wouldn't let go. And then I discovered these like pure cotton wipes. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just use pure cotton wipes? Because the cotton towels, you have to wash them again. And when you wash them, they get laundry detergent stuck on them and they're irritating. And then when I started using these dry wipes with water and just patting her, making sure the area is dry, her diaper rash started to clear. So that was my first intro.
So again, lived experience.
That was my intro. I was like, you know what? I like this.
Yeah.
You know, why do we have wet wipes? Why don't we get dry wipes? They're lighter, add water to them and just use them. It's the cleanest wet wipe. Yeah. And that was my introduction to entrepreneurship. I made this order 2 months postpartum, created the brand. My brother really encouraged me this time. He's like, just do it. Just order it. So I ordered it. By the time I came to Dubai, I was in the States. By the time it arrived, I was like, I don't even have time to do I don't know where do I sell it? Yeah. What do I do with it? Begin? Where am I going to put it? So that's how it started, you know, started looking into Amazon.
But you're doing this while you had postpartum, because you did gloss over that. You did mention that, and then it's a couple of times.
What is it?
Postpartum.
Yeah.
But you kind of breezed over that. Yeah. But that's a big deal as well, right?
It's a big deal.
And you were depressed for a time. I mean, you were mildly depressed. Or was that Was that something different?
I had a mild depression, not postpartum. I had it in pregnancy.
In pregnancy. Yeah. And then that sort of carried on afterwards?
No.
Something different?
I had mild depression in pregnancy, in the first trimester of pregnancy. Okay. And it just stayed a little bit in around 6 months in pregnancy. Then it went away.
Because I didn't just want to gloss over that, because when you mention postpartum, I feel like it's definitely worth talking about. A lot of women suffer from it, right?
They do. With Kareem, I didn't have postpartum depression, but I had obviously like blues and I was really down, very hormonal. Yeah. But I didn't have postpartum depression, so I was surprised with Chloe. I had prenatal depression, which is in pregnancy. You don't hear about that. Have you heard about that?
No.
And it's kind of strange because it's this time where you're supposed to be very happy. Yeah. You're very excited. You're growing your family. You know,
the world is full of hope, possibilities,
growth.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a new thing for you and your partner, so you don't want to be depressed. But that's the thing about depression, right?
It is.
Like it does not choose a time.
Yeah, you don't pick it.
No.
So you had the first lived experience. You decide, right, I want to get into the entrepreneurial life.
Yeah.
Which is completely different to you and alien to you. What was the thing that shocked you the most, or the hardest thing that you experienced when you first started out?
When I first started out, the hardest thing, logistics is not easy. You know, just trying to get importing and bringing things in is definitely not easy. Having a lot of fees really surprised me, because in the US, there's basically no fees to start a company. In the UAE, there's a lot of fees to start a company. Hidden fees, yeah. And I was like, I didn't make money. Like, does not count for anything. I was like, just help me out. I think that surprised me. And what surprised me the most about having a startup is how difficult marketing is. It is so difficult. And I think you can have the best product in the world, but if you're not marketing it correctly, then it's just going to stick in your face, right? Yeah. It's just going to be, I'm sure you
need to spend a little bit of money. You got to try and, people don't know about you. How can they buy you?
So people think that it's just about, let me budget whatever amount of money to get a product in, but that's not it. You have to budget for your marketing for the entire year, at least, before you get started.
From a mindset perspective, I'm really curious to know, Mirna, how you felt. Did you feel lonely? Did you feel like your old life, your old friends, because you were becoming an influencer on social, and then you kind of said, I'm not going to create the content, I'm not going to follow the trends anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to do something for me.
Yeah.
What was your mindset like?
What was my mindset like? I was really excited, believe it or not. Okay. I had felt, and I don't know, I mean, you're online, you're on Instagram, but I had been on Instagram for 10 years. Yeah. And I felt like I didn't want to be on Instagram anymore. Like it felt like, and I remember when I wanted to make the brands, Luca, I thought I want brands that do not depend on me. So even if you go on the website, you're not going to find like Mirna, like I wanted brands that will survive without me. I wanted something that is a business that I can delegate to somebody one day. Maybe it's something that can be a legacy, something that I can give my kids. But I did not want it to be something that had to do with me as an influencer.
Bottlenecking you completely.
So I was excited, but I'll tell you, now that I'm pregnant, I miss my community. I feel like, you know what? I miss it. And it reminds me that when I do things in general, I do them out of passion. Yeah. It reminds me that when I first got into nutrition and Instagram, it was because of the community. And now I have a calling to connect back to the community. Yeah. So it's, not having a community is not easy as well. You do feel what happened. Before I used to post a good morning and I get like thousands of good mornings back. Now I'll post a good morning and your community is not waiting for you, right?
Yeah,
now you'll post and you'll have a few people who are responding. But that's fair game, right?
It is fair game. That's the currency of social media. Yeah. You need to be active, you need to be present and always on.
But Luca, I always have this struggle even in my mind. I'm like you find a lot of successful people who are not on social media. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think that's awesome. I think there's a great life outside of social media. There's much less distraction. There's much less noise. I love your podcast. I love the things that you post, but it's rare to find things on social media that are truly enjoyable.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we created this show, is because there's a lot of crap out there.
And you said
done by people that just are, honestly, they're not role models. They're not people that you want to learn from, be inspired by, listen to, have worth your attention. Let's break it down to its bare, simplicity. It's about trying to capture someone's attention. Social media is a massive... It's a fight. It's a battle every single day. People competing in their millions for someone else's attention.
And the ones that are winning the battle are not the ones who are making a true impact. They are the most outrageous ones. I go on social media and most of the time I don't end up feeling good. I clean my algorithm. I do a lot of things to keep it feeling good. But honestly, most of the time I don't feel good.
So Mirna, let me open up a little bit, if you'd allow me.
Yeah.
Which I don't do a lot all the time. So I struggle with this because I have a podcast, but the show it's a guest space, typically speaking. So I have an Instagram page, my YouTube channel, all that stuff, Spotify, Apple, blah, blah. But for Luca, as an individual, I am still struggling with the social media aspect of it. So at the point of filming now, I've put very little effort into building my Luca Allam profile page. Very little, but I know I need to do it. The question is, how do you do it, and committing to do it? But it's reconciling myself. How much do I want to let people into my life?
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that for the last couple of years. It's only in the last sort of month or so I've kind of cracked it, where I'm like, you know what? I know what type of content people need to hear about. So I'm going to be now posting a lot about my communication training, helping people speak up, to speak confidently, to speak authentically, and all the tips and tricks that I've learned in 20 years of corporate and everything else. So my content is now going to be geared more towards communication rather than it being about, hi, look at... So that gives me, so it's doing something of that's bang on my brand, because I am a communication coach. It's bang on my brand, something I care about, and something that's still me. So that's my focus. So there you go. I'm sharing that for you.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I really like that. And I like the education element. And that's why I struggled after... For example, right now when I did the brands, people are like, come and talk about your brands, come and like, I only know how to teach out of experience or expertise. I did my courses out of my lived experience and out of my expertise. If it's not education, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to tell you.
It's the same as me, because I just can't. I can do this occasionally, right? I can do that occasionally, but it's not something I can sustain. Taking photos at events. Let everyone do what they want to do. I have no problem with that, but it has to feel me. So I coach authenticity in communication. I have to practice what I preach. So
I'm excited for you, because they're on the other side of this. You're going to get so many people who are going to message you and thank you. And I'm sure you already get that, who are going to tell you thank you so much. And what I did, a lot of times when I wanted to give up on creating content, I would go back to screenshots of things people have sent me.
It makes such a big difference.
Yeah. And it really makes such a big difference.
It's great, isn't it? It makes you feel good.
And there's an element of it for happiness, like part of, for me at least, because I had depression and I've been doing therapy for years, that what makes you happy? Like, you have to think, what is a fulfilled, wholesome life? And for me, part of that is giving back. And when I stopped creating the helpful content, a part of me is like, where are you helping? So I feel like now I'm ready to give back. again, for me, not for anything else, not for the courses, not for just for me.
Having that purpose is so important.
Yeah.
And like, it's incredibly cliche. I'm 43 years of age. Yeah. I've been liberated, if you like, in the last sort of 2 years, and from my mindset. I've done a lot of therapy as well. Yeah. And it's only in the last 3 or 4 months I've realized what my purpose is, and that's to help other people unlock their voice. Yeah. So my show, this, is about getting my guests to share, to open up, to reveal. Great. With my clients, I get them to open up when it comes to their communication, give them the confidence to stand up on stage or in a boardroom. You know how many people are scared of public speaking? 75% of the planet has glossophobia. 41% of people are more scared of public speaking than dying. These are true facts. Like it is real.
More scared of public speaking than dying.
41% of people. So helping people discover their voice, like for me, because I've now started to discover my own voice. Yeah. And I can't wait to start helping other people. That's what, it gives me so much energy to know that actually I know what I'm doing and I can do that for the rest of my life. And that's the plan. So I'm sharing a lot with you. There we go.
I wanted you to share with me.
I want to talk to you about your marriage. So you're remarried.
Yes.
How easy, difficult is it to not only start a new life from a business perspective, but also to start a new life from a personal perspective?
It is not easy. It is very, very difficult, like highest level probably of difficulty, I would say, especially if you have children, especially if you're in the region. First off, if you have a failed first marriage, I come from a family who's my parents are divorced, and I did not want to get divorced. Like I thought
nobody wants to get divorced.
I thought, I know everything you did wrong, and I'm just gonna have the best marriage ever. And then I fought against getting divorced. Obviously, I did everything not to, and here I ended up similar to my parents, but for different reasons. So you also have this lost confidence in yourself. You're like, I don't know how to make a right choice. Obviously, in the beginning of your
This is when the marriage was coming to an end, or in the second marriage?
I mean, afterwards. After I got divorced, I was like, you know what? I did not make a good choice. It seems I don't know how to make the right choice. Because obviously, after anything traumatic
or failed,
you go through a journey, right? In the beginning, you're just angry at yourself. Then you're kind of trying to rationalize what happened. Maybe later on when you're in acceptance, you're like, oh, there must have been a reason. It's a journey. But initially, obviously, you lose complete trust in yourself. And even when I was getting remarried, I was like, is this gonna fail too? I don't know. And I could not handle a second failure. And even in my son's eyes, I did not want him to have something broken again. So I was scared. I was petrified. 1. 2, I was going into a marriage with someone who is my husband right now is Lebanese. He comes from a traditional family, and he was my friend. Actually, I've known him since he was 12. We met. Like we stopped talking for 10 years. We went to EUB together. We didn't talk for 10 years.
So while you were married, you weren't talking?
No, we were not.
The first marriage?
100%.
Mirna?
No, promise we were not talking. And I actually have the Facebook proof. The first time he messaged me, he had moved to Dubai, and he was like, you know what? I'd love to hang out with you and your husband and meet your son, because he was my friend. Yeah. He moved to Dubai. He's like, I want to get to know your family. By the time I was already separated. So I didn't even tell him I was separated. We go out kind of seeing an old friend, but part of me wanted to go and a part of me did not want to go. He even says when you came and you said hi to me, you just shook my hand from far away, even though we were good friends in university. But I don't know what happened. That first time we went out and we were talking, we were chatting, he didn't even know I was divorced. We were talking and chatting, and I was like, are you crazy? Do you like him? How could you? It's kind of like you're betraying you're my friend. Yeah. And then we fell in love. And because he was my friend, because I knew his family, because before any of that, I was like, روح حل عني. Find anybody else in the world. Go date whoever
Very
you want. Leave me alone. Yeah. I am
Because you could ruin a friendship. You could ruin a friendship as well.
I didn't want to get married again.
You're in that space.
I didn't want to get married again. I had zero interest. I thought I wouldn't get married again. And here he is, this young guy. We're the same age, never married, didn't have kids, living his best life. I was like, your parents are going to give you such a hard time and they're not going to accept. Okay. And I don't want to be not accepted.
Mirna, I need to ask you a question.
Tell me.
Do you think he always wanted to be with you?
I mean, I think so.
I'm glad you admit that. It's very rare for boys I'm sorry, I'm saying boys because boys are primitive, to be friends with the girl for a sustained period of time and never it be a little bit more. It happens.
You should bring them on and ask them.
It happens, but it's very rare. Look, I was friends with Rasha for many. We were best friends for years, and nothing had ever happened. And then just suddenly something did happen, but someone said to me, no, it was always there. And I said, no, it wasn't. But then I keep thinking, well, maybe there was, but I never felt it and she never felt it. But I guess you'll never know. But I'm glad you could admit that he was always into you.
Honestly, he says no.
Yeah,
he says no, but I tell him.
There's male pride at stake here.
I also try to put it in his head, you've loved me from the first time you saw me, you knew it was there. But he says no. He had a lot of girlfriends, actually. That was his personality.
So is there a big taboo now on getting remarried? Because when we were younger, we're similar age, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
When we would hear of divorce, this is haram.
Yeah.
Now, 2026, divorce it's kind of not expected, but it's very ordinary. So do you feel the societal views on divorce have changed? Has it made it easier for you? Is there still the same stigma of people looking at you saying, oh, she's remarried? Do you feel that, or is it easier?
I would love to say that I didn't feel that, but I did feel it. Not with my husband's family, I'll tell you that honestly. But I did feel it with my friends. I had friends when I got divorced that I had a friend of mine who was my age. I went to school with him. I went to university with him. And we were sitting down, we were talking. I told him that I had met Mustafa, and he's like, what do you think, he's gonna marry you? You honestly think that? I'm like, he's like, you are divorced, you have
damaged.
a child.
You're damaged.
Exactly.
Goods.
He told me if I told my mom, she would not let it go down. And he said it with so much confidence. And I do know that when he told his friends that we were getting serious, they all were not supportive. Now, let me say it differently. Now, if I had my brother come and tell me I want to marry someone who is divorced, I'm not gonna be against it. But I'm gonna tell him, you gotta know what you're doing. You can't just get married and then back out. This is a life. You have to commit. You have to know what comes with it. You have to be responsible enough. And you are choosing a harder choice.
Yeah.
But to shame someone for it or to make someone feel less than isn't fair. And to be honest, with his family, because I told him, listen, I come with a full package. It's me and my son. My son is the number one priority in my life. You even come after. You come second. If anyone makes me feel uncomfortable or makes him feel uncomfortable, I'm out. And I kid you not, we've been married for a few years and no one has once said a single thing that has upset me or
amazing
anything at all.
I think without that friendship base, it would have been much harder potentially.
And having a strong personality. I think his personality is very much, I know what I'm doing, just butt out of my decisions, what I have to do. Yeah. And I do have a friend who's a therapist, and I remember telling her, I feel so bad, I don't want Kareem to feel different in school, because he was growing up and his parents are divorced and the other kids' parents are not divorced. So he was feeling uncomfortable. And she's like, because she's older than I am. She has a 22-year-old now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's like, Mirna, every year in school, there's going to be more and more divorced parents. It's not funny.
It is, but it's the reality. We're seeing it.
It's the reality. She's like, by the time your son is a senior in high school, more than half are going to be divorced.
I believe it.
That's to your point that it is now normal, but it does not mean that everyone looks at it.
So here's a tough question for you.
Yeah.
I want to look in your eyes and we'll see the answer, because I know it's going to be true or not. You're now married for the second time.
Yeah.
How much pressure do you now have to make this marriage work? And how much will it make you stay in a marriage longer than potentially you wouldn't if you hadn't been married previously?
I mean, I don't want another failed marriage, but once you've done it once, you also feel like I have my values and I have what I expect out of a marriage. And if I don't have that, I also don't have a reason to stay. I know that if I am put in the same situation again, I will want to divorce again. But also, Luca, you change. I got married the first time I was 24.
You're a kid.
What do I know about myself when I'm 24?
Exactly.
What do I know about my values? What do I know about the type of relationship that I want? By the time I got married again, I think I was 32 or 33. I was a different person.
Yeah.
I was independent. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want. And I had a much stronger sense of who I am. So to answer your question, would I stay in it if I know it's not good? I wouldn't.
Takes a strong character to say that.
I mean, you owe it to yourself as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't stay in an unhappy marriage.
When you see women in marriages at the moment, and even men,
Yeah.
and you can see there's something wrong,
Yeah.
do you feel compelled to say something?
I would not say anything, even if it's my sister, even if it's my best friend. I wouldn't say anything because there is a bias, number one, that comes with divorced friends.
Glad you recognize that.
So I remember my dad didn't want my mom hanging out with her divorced friend. He was wrong and off, and it got stuck in my head at the time when I was getting divorced. I was like, the cliche, and the like how ugly people look at divorced women was stuck in my head. But just because it was my choice, and I knew I could survive it, and I knew what was on the other end of it, and I knew that I am going to be healthy, I am going to survive it, and I am going to create a great life for my son, doesn't mean that other women are going to be able to think that or do that. But I knew in my heart that I couldn't stay anymore. For me, it wasn't a choice. You know how we talked about it? I don't know if that's what happened with you in corporate, but I felt like it wasn't a choice anymore. It wasn't just me, actually. It was me and my ex-husband. We both
that was it, khalas.
Yeah.
Are you ready to take charge of the show?
Yeah.
75% of everyone on this planet is terrified of public speaking. And 41% of people are more scared of public speaking than actually dying. I mean, those numbers are just crazy. But the reality is everyone feels that sense of anxiety when they have to open their mouth and talk, especially in front of other people. Whether you're on stage, whether you're doing a podcast, or whether you're trying to pitch to investors in a boardroom, it's all part of that same anxiety. My name is Luca, Allam, and my job is to help people feel comfortable with who they are. So when they speak authentically, and they don't copy anybody else. In 2026, there's never been a more important time to differentiate yourself in a personal setting, but also in a business setting. With Master Pitch training, we unlock your real voice to get you feeling comfortable for any situation.
Do women grow more through safety and support or through stretch and struggle? Woo!
So how do women grow more? Through safety and support or stretch and struggle?
You grow more in different directions. I know you don't want to hear that. I know. But like in safety and support, you grow in the path that you want. What is the path that you want? You'll grow in your path.
Can you grow in safety?
You can grow in safety.
Okay.
I think if you're in a happy marriage, you can achieve anything.
Which one speaks louder to you? Forget the generic stuff. Which one speaks more to you? How can you grow more as Mirna?
Stretch and struggle, because it's something I experienced, has given me a dimension of strength and experiences and things that I'm proud of. And it's allowed me to be able to communicate and connect with anybody. So for me, it has created more growth.
Do you think many women play it safe out of fear?
I do.
Upsetting the status quo?
I do. But I also think that you have to understand yourself. So for example, some people thrive in progress and they thrive in change and they thrive in challenge. That's one of their values. But other people don't. A lot of women don't ever want a challenge. They thrive in safety. So I think it depends on who you are. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Of course, it's subjective. And for you, you obviously grew more in the challenging aspect. You constantly want to challenge yourself. You mentioned this a few times. That's where you feel you're most alive. It helps you sort of fulfill that kind of that feeling of getting joy because you're constantly trying to move and test yourself. Where does that drive thing come from, Mirna? And why do some women or men not have that?
A protective mechanism. So they do say, I read one time, that people who have been through strong traumas are some of the most successful people in the world. And it almost always, in a lot, it goes into either addiction or like success in a sense of achievement. So I don't know if it's a trauma solution, cover up, if it's just your way of, you know what, I'm going to ignore all this in my life. Like I ignored a lot of things that were going on at home and just wanted to read and learn and get out and succeed and have my own personality and not be tied down to what I felt at home, right? Whereas maybe if I was very happy at home and very comfortable at home and everything was perfectly fine, maybe I would have never thought to achieve and excel and et cetera, et cetera.
So what's your take on women empowerment, on that word that people kind of avoid? Feminism.
Yeah.
Right? Like what's your take?
Feminism is great. I do think a lot of people took it too far or misrepresented it. There's a lot of campaigns that get represented, or there's a lot of causes that get misrepresented. I think feminism is very important. There's a place and time for it. I think in our region, there's more time and place for it. For example, and I feel strongly about this because I've experienced it, and I've had many family members experience it and had many friends experience it. But in our region, we stay in marriages where we are not happy because we cannot financially leave, right? And then sometimes you don't even financially leave, and your husband, generally when he's in his 40s or 45 or 50s, he's started making this big, I am making a generalization.
It's okay. You can look at me when you say it. It's
but
okay.
this is not applicable to a lot of our generation. But what I see is he's 45, 50, he's suddenly making this huge income and has this great new car and amazing hobbies. And he's like, I'm not happy in my marriage. And he just ends up leaving. And what is she left with? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And no matter how many people tell you that حقوقنا محفوظة in the region, or we have our rights in the region, we have no rights. Okay?
You really believe that?
I really believe that. And I believe, like, look at the US, for example. If you get divorced, you still get half because you, rightly or wrongly or whatever, but you get half because you participated in building this life. This is a life that you built together. If it wasn't for you, your husband wouldn't be so comfortable going to work and traveling all over the world and succeeding and going up the ladder because you participated in this life.
Are you speaking as a Lebanese or as an Arab female?
I'm talking about an Arab female.
Okay.
So I feel like we don't have rights. And therefore, what we end up having to do, Luca, is we end up having to, whether we like it or not, some women don't like to work, but we work because we have to. Because if we don't make an income, what are we going to do? Stay stuck? Get left? Dependent? Obviously not every man is like that, but in the Middle East, we depend on the generosity and the beautiful values of this man. So you've got a time where we must work and we must fight for our rights and we must set a good example for other women. But at the same time, this has made women very in their male energy, let's say, in their male dominant energy. And you've got all this, women are trying to be like men. They're not feminine anymore. You've got all these people complaining, but it's like, what do you want us to do? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I do believe today we work and we need empowerment because we need to protect ourselves and because it's very, very important. And I do find that it's hard because in some phases of our lives, for example, I'll talk about myself, I find it to be way too hard to work and at the same time raise little ones. And it's fair to take a break. And sometimes when you take that break, you struggle, right? Guilt. What am I doing? Why am I not working? Why'd you let yourself go? Et cetera, et cetera. And I do see now there's a pushback. There's a lot of women who are like, screw feminism. Take me back. I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
It's happening in the US. It's a big
happening
movement in the US.
Exactly.
Going back to the 50s sort of ideology.
Well, I know a lot of my friends who want to just go to a farm and, milk the cows.
White picket fence and all that.
And I get that. Maybe we went to this side and people are trying to find the middle. And I think everyone's going to struggle. But for us in the Middle East, I think it's always going to be a struggle. Is reinvention about growth or just a sophisticated way of running from boredom? Oh my God.
So why do we reinvent ourselves? Is it because we really want to grow or just bored of what we're doing?
Well, I think what's your choice of reinvention? So, for example,
you reinvented yourself,
exactly.
Right?
I reinvented myself.
Both in your business and in your personal life.
I don't think it's a sophisticated way to run away from boredom because I feel like if you wanted the sophisticated way, like I've done some sophisticated reinventions. Like I picked up art class.
Okay.
I was going
paintbrush
on
and stuff?
Exactly.
Okay.
It was nice. But it wasn't for me. I'm not good. I get so impatient. Like trying to get the color.
I'm 100%.
Very difficult.
I can't paint, draw anything. What's your star sign out of curiosity?
Virgo.
You're a Virgo.
How about you?
I get on very well with Virgos.
Really?
I'm a Scorpio.
Like
so Cancers, Pisces, and Virgos.
We do.
Those are my people.
They
apparently.
do.
I've had some guests on. I'm like, I know exactly what star sign you are. We won't go there. Carry on, please. So you used to paint, right?
So that is okay. Me trying to find a hobby, right? But I feel like there is a lot that is different. Yeah. If you want to really, really challenge yourself, I'll tell you, starting a brand is a little fun, but mostly really, really hard.
It's scary as hell.
And you're putting yourself out there, you're vulnerable, you're putting your money, putting your time, putting your energy for something you don't know if
pride,
it's gonna...
your ego,
your self-confidence. And it's scary because you're doing something new. And I used to pride myself on being very courageous. Like, I'll try something new even if it fails. Nowadays, I'm less courageous. If it fails, I feel like it's feeding a bias. I'm more scared of it than I was before.
So here's a loaded question.
Yeah.
What's the bravest thing you've ever done?
The bravest thing I've ever done, I think remarrying is really brave because it's really scary.
Yeah. From the minute you decide to leave the first marriage, to have that time for yourself, to kind of reassess who you are and take stock and get that balance back, then decide to open up your heart again for someone else and disrupt your life and your son's life. I mean, that is the hardest thing you could ever do. That's why they say marriage it's the most important decision you ever make.
Yeah, no, it is.
And if you make the wrong decision, having the courage to say, I made the wrong decision on the biggest decision of my life, and now I'm going to try again. Like, honestly, I take my hat off to you.
Thank you. And
seriously, for people who haven't been married, they don't understand what marriage is. And for those that have been remarried, there are a small group of people that said, you know what, I still haven't given up on wanting to find the right partner for me. And it takes so much courage to do that. A lot of people, when they divorce, are like, you know what, I'm done. I've done my marriage, I've got my kids, I can have my fun now, and all that. The reference you made earlier about the 45-year-old man, 50-year-old man making the money and all that stuff, I had in your seat, and I always referred to her, this is a great episode, Dr. Saliha Afridi. Yeah. She talked about men and women typically going through this period of midlife crisis, right? Everyone calls it. You buy this, you change that. It doesn't fix who you are and doing the inner work. And she talked about it's only until you sort of get that understanding, that self-awareness, you step into your second adulthood. You rediscover who you always were. So buying something else isn't going to help you, but you've got to relearn who you're always meant to be. And once you know who you've always meant to be, then everything becomes much easier. And that's what stayed with me.
And the other day I heard something a little bit similar, but on a different point.
Oh, my podcast, right? You were watching my podcast.
I was watching your podcast, and I watched the episode with Dr. Saliha.
Amazing.
Beautiful. I love that podcast. That men need to marry 3 women in their lives. Yeah. Okay. The first one is from the 20s to the 30s. It's the passion and discovery and excitement. And then you've got the 30s to the 40s where you are, you're growing, you're discovering who you are. And then you've got, I think maybe it was like 30s to 45. And then you've got 45 plus, you're just looking for companionship and a friend in your life. And if you're lucky, those 3 marriages are in one woman, right? And I do find marriage to be a choice, the person you chose, but also I find it to be luck. There's a lot of luck that goes into it. Like if you are married, yes, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of base love. It's a lot of daily effort. There's luck because you've changed how many times? And women change even more,
My
right?
teeth have changed more times. Look at that, huh?
And women change even more.
100%. I'm with you.
I'm not the same person when I had before I was a mom, and you're not the same person. And if you're continuing with this person, and I think there's a lot of judgment on people like, oh, you just made the wrong choice. But really,
look, you make the best decision you can at the time with the information that you have. So it's about getting as much info. So my dad he's still alive. He used to give me some advice because I asked him, like, Dad, before I get married, like, how do I know she's the right girl? Like the classic question you'd ask your dad. You're like, Luca, test her. Test her. Give her certain situations. Ask her certain questions. And it's not what she says, it's also how she says it. Will give you some sort of indication of what kind of person you're going to be marrying. So that's what I did. I took his advice to heart. I didn't know any better. And I would give Rasha some questions. I would give this other girls in my previous life the same questions. And the way they would answer would always be very different to how she answered. That advice helped me in my life. I'm not saying it worked for everyone, but give yourself that opportunity to get as much info as you can. Like ask questions in the future, what things potentially would look like. And the way Rasha answered was really like,
How old were you guys when you got married?
I was late. I was 37.
You see, I think that's
late.
part of it.
I was late. So I knew who I was. I was financially, my career was great. I was in a good place. She was a bit younger. She was 32, I think, at the time. So we both kind of knew who we were, and we had that base of friendship. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be the best marriage in the world, but when we got married, we had the best solid base you could possibly have at the time.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
That is very true.
Because in 10 years' time, conditions will change. But you go into it feeling at least,
And the
robust.
other thing I've learned is try not to get married within that first year of getting to know each other. Because within that first year, you're showing that person
The
just
best.
the best, and it's out of you're not even faking it. You're just like so excited.
You're radiating all the
You're
time.
radiating. And they see you and they think that you're just this phenomenal, wonderful butterfly.
And we're really not. We're
I am
terrible.
not a butterfly.
Yeah. On that note, let's do another ball. There we go. We're on a roll.
What creates deeper depression? Internal misalignment or external pressures? I think it's internal misalignment. I think that creates a deeper depression because I feel like if you in your core are strong, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
I am with you 100%. How aligned do you feel now versus your previous self?
I feel really aligned because I am very happy in my life. I am genuinely happy. Like I love my life.
I love that.
Thank you.
Do you
I
know
love it.
Do you know how many people say that?
I don't know.
Very few.
I love it. And it's been work in progress.
And it shows. Your
Thank
face
you.
is ready. Look, you're pregnant as well.
Yeah.
I always say you glow in pregnancy. But your energy is there. I felt
you.
it when we spoke, when I met you. Like, you can tell people are happy because they know what they are doing. They're on the right path. I see a lot of people making a lot more money than me.
Yeah.
A lot more, have more cars, go first class trips. They're miserable.
Yeah.
They're miserable. There's part of me like, I really would like to have some of that, right?
Yeah.
But I also know that at least if you have that alignment, it's only a matter of time when you start to realize that actually it will pay off. Financially or not, it doesn't matter. It will pay off.
Have you read The Art of Spending Money? Okay. It's a good book.
Okay.
And it says, that there's like a statistic that among every 10 millionaires, there are 14 divorces. And the way that is that 7 of them are at least divorced twice. And part of what the book talks about is that people who have more money are not necessarily happier than you. And there's a number. So if anything above $100,000 a year does not cause exponential happiness. Okay. So it does not increase exponentially with how much more money you make. It's about creating a life that you're actually happy with. So for example, are you just working all the time, or are you filling your other values, friendship, connection, family, or are you just working, and that's the only thing you're cultivating? And today, I will sit with 10 of my friends, and 7 of them are just working. They're saving a lot more, and they're traveling better, but they're not necessarily the
Can you see on the
happier
look on their
ones.
face when you meet someone for the first time?
If they're happy or not? I cannot.
You can't tell.
No. I can only if I talk to them long enough. But I'll tell you that nowadays, I feel more people are unhappy than they are happy.
Why is that?
I don't know.
External pressures?
I do think external pressures.
Misalignment?
I think for sure there's misalignment. I think for sure today, social media, the media in general, it's like hustle culture. Make this money. Make do this number. All I see is invest your money in crypto, invest your money here. There's so much money conversation. And I feel like everyone is, if they're making money, they feel so satisfied. They're just like, I know what I'm doing. Listen to me, And I feel like and they're not happy in their marriages.
No.
They're not necessarily, doing all the right choices with their kids. And they're just like, I'm making money, therefore I'm great. And it's crazy to me that they don't challenge that. And they don't realize that I have some of them that tell me that they're really happy, but I can see it because I've been unhappy.
It's so great that you can recognize that.
Yeah.
Look, there is a rat race mentality, especially in Dubai, in UAE.
Yes.
The highest concentration of wealth per capita, I think, anywhere in the world. More millionaires, billionaires, you name it here. It is all about everywhere you go. You see Bentleys, Rolls Royces, you see Lamborghinis, the best restaurants are always booked out. So if you're living in Dubai, I know we're in a bit of a bubble in that respect, but it only fuels that fire. And it takes a very strong person to be able to say, actually, I'm okay living quite a humble, modest life. I had a coffee with an old client of mine, okay? He was my client for 10 years. And he said, what car are you driving? I told him I'm still driving the same car. Not from 10 years ago, but 6-7 years ago. He said, me too. And we kind of had this acknowledgement. We didn't say anything, but he looked at me and I looked at him and was like, you know what? We have more important things that we want to be focusing on. And it's not just about the external anymore, because we figured out who we really are, and that stuff doesn't help.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You know, the other day I had, so my sister recently, because usually you are comparing yourself to the people who are around you, right? My sister recently got a new car. Her husband got a new car. My husband got a new car. My brother got a new car. Everyone got a new car. So they came, and even my sister-in-law was here. And so they're all making fun of me. They're like, change your car. You don't even have sensors. I'm like, I have a Wrangler. And it's older.
Love Wranglers.
I love Wranglers.
They're old
and
school,
I love
man.
that it doesn't have a sensor.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, it doesn't have a screen.
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere to put my phone.
Yeah, you a good parker? Can you parallel park?
I am a good parker.
Okay,
I'm a good parker. So they're just making fun of me. And I'm like, guys, like, you want me to spend money on a car so you guys can be happy when I would rather spend on something else completely.
My boss's boss at my old job told me I need to buy a new car for my image.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
No, I will not do it. No,
I had to buy a new car. I was told I have to buy a new car. You're now in a certain position. You need to buy a new car.
No, but for me, I feel
I was driving a Jeep as well, by the way.
Really?
I was not a Wrangler. It was a Cherokee.
And I feel like I want to, and also, you know, I love that car. It's a little bit of an emotional attachment because it was the first thing I bought with my own money. And I love it. I don't want to change it. It's always going to be a reminder that this is a hustle time for me. And again, like, there's seasons of life. There are seasons for splurging, and there are seasons for hustling, and there's seasons for babies, and there's seasons for...
Clearly. I love
for
it.
glowing.
It is the season. All right, let's crack on. We have two more, my dear.
Yalla,
two more.
Yalla. When pursuing joy, what can mislead people more? Chasing comfort or chasing change?
What's more misleading when you want to try and get joy?
I need a certain amount of change for me to be happy. If my life is very stagnant, I'm not happy.
I'm going to ask you a very random question.
Yeah.
How many pairs of shoes do you own?
I'm a woman.
You're Charlotte from Sex and the City. Done. I don't need any more evidence. That's it.
I need change.
Okay.
I need a change. I need to work on something that requires different language.
Yep.
I need to travel. If I don't see something new once a year, I feel like part of me dies. If I don't eat something completely new that I have never tasted in my life, I get very sad. If I go out on the weekend and I don't eat good food, for example, something that's different.
So when you go out, do you go to the same restaurants?
No, I try
Always
to change.
different.
I try to change.
Do you ever wear the same outfit twice?
Rarely, but I do.
Have you worn this outfit before?
I mean, yeah, because I wanted to be comfortable.
Okay,
so
makes
I
sense.
had to go to something
Makes sense.
I knew that was.
What about work-wise? So the more products. So now you've got 3 businesses, right?
I've got 3.
You want to add 4, 5, 6?
I'm not going to add businesses, but I'm going to add to the lines.
Okay.
So, for example, Pure Face will have things that are complementary. Cocoa Wipes will have things that are complementary.
And all of that makes you happy. The more you do, the more you change, the more you try.
Yeah.
So why is that? What is that about you that? Because my wife is like you, right? And help me break the code. What is it?
I don't know. All I know is that's how I am in my soul and in my heart.
Because there are some people, I'm not going to say who, they come home, they want to have their comfortable slippers, right? They want to sit on the same chair, watch the same series that they love, right? And that familiarity, that comfort makes them happy. Happy or not, whatever you want to call it.
Does Resha have random hobbies as well?
Yeah, man. She picked up drumming.
Yeah.
Right? She did pottery.
Yes.
She's now taking photography lessons.
Yeah.
I'm talking all in the last 3 months. Right?
No, I'm the same. We chase joy.
What is it?
So I'm going to tell you something that might shed light on this. I did a quiz recently. It's called the Values Bridge.
Okay.
It's by a professor. So you take 100 questions, you answer them, and it basically asks you all these things about your values, and then it grades them on 16 values from the top to the least. Okay? And one of the values, for example, was called eudaimonia. So it's how much you want acts of pleasure in your life, things that make you happy. They could be daily or they could be new. I scored eudaimonia number 3. So you have a top 5. I have eudaimonia as number 3. Resha probably has it as number 3. You maybe have it as number 14. It's not something that you chase.
Yeah.
Maybe for you, what you have is familiarity. But I do think that it's purely a personality.
So let's flip it now into sort of a working perspective. Comfort. People who stay in their jobs because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
There's joy in the fact that they know every month they're going to get a paycheck. If they do well, they're going to get a bonus.
Yeah.
There is a certain level of joy in that. Or is that not joy and that's something else?
I believe that could be joy. 100%. I mean, right now, for example, I'm not getting a salary at the end of every month. It's different. You know, I'm not getting joy from that, but I'm getting joy from something else. But by the way, I don't think you're being fair to yourself, because you did do a change.
Yeah.
You did a big life change. So you're not necessarily sitting in.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking the question, because
comfort.
when we spoke, me and you, it was like, there's a lot of alignment here.
Yeah.
I changed my life dramatically.
Yeah.
And people were like, what are you doing? I lost friends along the way. I lost a self of myself. I was like, who am I?
But I'll tell you what, I do believe, again, because of this values bridge and other things, like there are corporate people who are made to be corporate people, and those people are happy and they will die happy because they'd rather die than be entrepreneurs, or they'd rather die than do something on their own. But if you're someone who becomes 40 or 45 and it's like, I can't do this anymore, that's not for you. So it's about understanding yourself. Speaking of, wanting to change, sometimes I'm on Instagram, I'm like, I would have loved to be a professor. Oh, I would have loved to be
you've got the Rasha gene on you.
A doctor. Yeah. But I've learned to hone it in, like just because it's nice, it doesn't mean that it would have brought you happiness. And focusing on your values, like I've got those top 5 values, for example.
Is it like a drug though, that you constantly need to keep changing to catch that piece of joy?
It is, I mean, like a dopamine. Yeah. There's like the dopamine addiction.
That hit you get.
I don't have that in general. So for example, I don't have addictive personality. I don't have addictive behaviors. I don't drink too much. I don't smoke too much. I smoked for 10 years on weekends. Okay. For me, it's a thrill. I love to read. I love to learn something new.
Let's do our last ball.
Name the 5 foods/drinks that are most harmful for our kids.
Look at you talked about dietitian now. Look at that. You talked about nutrition. Look at that. Look at that segue. It's almost like I knew.
I like it.
So what are the 5 worst things you can give to your kids? Food or drink?
Number 1 would be...
The worst one.
Worst one.
Yeah.
I would say are like the deli meats.
Oh, sorry.
The turkey, like smoked turkey, hot dogs.
Okay.
Those foods.
So the processed meats.
They're
the worst things to eat?
They are some of the worst things that you could possibly eat.
Number 2?
Number 2 would be things with colorants.
Isn't that everything these days?
Not really, no. Even, Skittles, if you buy it in the US, it's different than if you buy it in Europe.
Which is worse?
The US always.
Yeah.
If you look at the ingredient list, the European associations don't allow so many of the things that are allowed in the US. So you find a lot of things in Europe that have natural colors. But in the US, no, it's quite bad. So anything with artificial colors definitely would be something that I would avoid. Number 3, I would say fried foods, just because they change so much.
Any type of fried foods? And any type of oil?
Obviously, some oils are better than others. If you are sauteing, especially if you're using olive oil, it's not bad.
Are you a good cook?
I am.
What's your go-to dish?
I make a really good salmon teriyaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Japanese food.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fried foods.
4th, I would say obviously sugar. Things that are high in sugar. Artificial sugar. Not natural sugars, not things like fruits and stuff like that.
So what's the worst thing, artificial sugar that I heard Oreos is up there.
No, Oreos is one of the cleaner ones.
Really? They told me Oreos are one of the most unhealthy things you can eat.
Oreos is one of the cleaner ones.
Really?
Yeah. What are some of the highest sugar stuff? There's a lot of Sour Patches, which I had a whole pack the other day.
Sour Patches?
Sour Patches. You know Sour Patches?
Those like Haribo style sour sweets? Okay.
They're like gel.
Yeah, I used to love those.
So high sugar stuff, especially if they're with a combination with like a salty, sugary, like brain messes with like your brain levels. Yeah.
And number 5?
And to know that sugar really is addicting for kids. So the younger they are, the worse that it is for them. Sodas for sure. Like things with acids. Sugars.
They all have acids, don't they?
I know, but they're all not good.
Yeah.
They're all not good.
So how healthy are we as a human race now versus 50 years ago?
The food has changed drastically. So for example, people will tell you, oh, we used to eat this a long time ago, but food has changed. There's, how much money is spent on how to make a food addictive. like chips, which we forgot to mention, but like they work on it so that crunch is the perfect crunch that's going to make your brain happy. That salt level is the perfect salt level that's going to make your brain happy. So it's very hard to even eat intuitively, eat until you're full. You cannot eat Sour Patches until you're full. You cannot eat. I tried.
Are you craving something at the moment?
So because I crave Sour Patches so much, I've been having green apples with so much salt, which is really not...
We have some in the kitchen. We're happy after this. You can help yourself.
Thank you. But I would say that our generation right now is healthier. Like, I don't know how you are with your kids, but I look at my friends and most of them are very conscious of what they're feeding their kids.
But the ingredients are worse. 30 years ago, someone took a picture of a ketchup bottle. It was Heinz ketchup bottle. There was 4 ingredients at the back.
Yeah.
Take a picture right now, you're going to see 30 ingredients at the back.
Very, very true.
As simple as that.
Yes.
As simple as that.
Even chicken has changed.
Before,
the chicken did not have that many things injected in them. But again, you can make healthier choices. Don't buy things from the US. Buy meat from Europe, for example.
I've got a 2-year-old and I've got a 4-year-old. What's the worst thing I can give them? Any type of sugar. But look, they're going to have sugar at some point.
They're going to have.
Yeah, but what's the worst type of sugar to give them? Like, if you're going to rank them from cake all the way down to something else.
Like high fructose corn syrup. Those you'll find in candies, gummies, lollipops.
Got it.
But if you're making a cake, you don't use high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, it started in the US because they had so much excess corn. Yeah. What are we going to do with it? And they just made this horrible type of sugar that gets absorbed in the body so quickly. But if you're having cake, it's very different. Why? Because you're having sugar, real sugar, and it's combined with some protein, it's combined with fat, it's combined with milk, it's combined with flour. So it's going to be slower to digest.
Mirna, I can still see the passion in your eyes. It's still there.
Still there.
Yeah, you may want to, and it was a deliberate because I see she's still got it.
But I'll tell you honestly.
It's still going.
I do want to see one note that we really are healthier. Yeah. That's it. I'm going to say that people are conscious because now I go out with people. I don't feel the need anymore to create education as I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I felt like we really needed more help.
Amazing. We're not quite done yet. Ooh. Look, I asked this to the guests at the end, if there's, based on your life, everything that you've been through, the changes that you've done professionally and personally, what is that overriding insight that you would like to share with the audience? So what is Mirna's insight?
So my overriding insight is if there's something inside of you that's calling you, that's ticking you, that's telling you you're unhappy about something, chase it. Chase it until you find out where is your true happiness. There's something in there in your life that needs to change. It's not just that you're gloomy or you're depressed. Look for your own happiness. You deserve it. That would be it.
I love that. And how do you know once you find it?
You're not going to be posting on social media as much. You're not going to be buying flashy cars, but your happiness will truly, truly, truly resonate because people will tell you, you have great energy, we like to be around you. For me, I feel like that is your soul radiating out.
100%. And that's that's kind of how we started with your energy. And that's kind of a great way to sort of end it as well. Look, Mirna, it's been great having you on.
Thank you so much.
I wish you best of luck in the pregnancy, first and foremost. It's not going to be easy. You know that. I don't need to tell you that. Best of luck in the marriage.
Thank you.
He's lucky to have you.
Oh.
Best of luck with the businesses.
Thank you.
All right. Go for it. And keep inspiring other people to do the same thing. So,
my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I had
my pleasure.
Such a great time. And thank you for asking me so many questions to dig deep. This was actually joy for me.
That's good. That's good. You see?
It's going in there.
And now you're going to watch Sex and the City in a whole new way. You're going to watch it go, you know what, Luca might have had a point there. And on that note, I hope you've been watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share, comment, do what you do best. I mean, what else do you want to say? You want to say anything else?
Thank you so much.
Mirna, throw something else in there. Tell them to do something else. What else can they do?
Pick a new hobby like Rasha and I do.
There you go. Pick a new hobby. And on
Even if it doesn't last, don't let anyone judge you.
Love it. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you.